Spring wind in Kansas sucks.
Cool story, bro.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Gravel. I'm Neil Taylor, and sitting alongside me today,
Producer Matt.
what's up, Producer Matt? How you been, man?
I've been doing good. How have you been liking the wind lately? I think that's where we jump in right now.
Oh my goodness, this last week has just been windy. This is what the springtime is, though, in the Flint Hills.
Absolutely, it is definitely springtime in Kansas. I think we've turned the page on the weather seasons.
Yes.
not too much of having to ride in the long sleeves or a windbreaker. But, you know, we're out in just the jerseys again for the most part. I'm sure Kansas is going to hear me and change this afternoon.
Yeah, way to go. Way to go.
It's all on me, guys. But what have you been up to, Neil?
Lots of riding.
Yeah.
You know, before Land Run, things were pretty cold here in Kansas, and I have twice as many miles on the bike since Land Run, so in basically the last month, than I had in the 2.5 months before Land Run. I've just been able to get out, put down over 100 miles almost every week.
Nice.
And even more than that sometimes. And so that's been a blast, just being able to get out, get some miles, have some fun. Go on the group rides again. I love group ride season. We've been missing that.
Yeah.
Got to test ride some bikes with gears.
Yeah.
Which
How was
nice.
that?
Not too bad. I got to ride the new Warbird version 4 and then also the War Road.
Yeah.
And it made me realize just how much I enjoy bikes with gears again.
Yeah, that little clicky feeling?
Yeah, that little just clicky feeling, or even just on the version 4, the one I got to test was the DI2, and so just being able to touch that button and it shift. Oh, it was glorious.
Yeah.
And then I jumped back on my single speed bike and rode a couple hundred miles. So yeah.
You know, my opinion on DI2 is it's very cool. I'm a big fan of technology, obviously. But when I come to my bike, and for granted, I've never actually rode one like that, but I like things simple. I mean, that's kind of my thing. Not quite single speed simple, but after seeing you fly by with that.
Oh, let me tell you, it was awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, just being able to ride on it, it felt so smooth. And I know there was 3 of us, I think, Salsa had a test day here at the shop, and a group of us got to get out and to ride them and test them out. And I already know that one individual has bought one of those since then. So I definitely I like it. I mean, the Di2 is awesome. And so if I get a bike that has gears on it in the future, I wouldn't be surprised if I went to something with electronic shifting as well.
Yeah, I think that's worth a shout out. Talking about the bike brands that come and do local days at your bike shop, make sure you go and take advantage of it. You know, you might be riding one brand or another right now, but hey, they're bringing free bikes to come ride. Why not try out the new technology?
Absolutely. You know, I just walked in there behind the shop and hopped on a bike and went out for a 20-mile spin, and then came back, dropped that bike off, picked up another bike, and went out on another 20-mile spin. And I got to ride 2 bikes that I probably wouldn't usually just get to take out for 20 miles on gravel, because these demo bikes are intended for that, demoing. It's not, you got to stay on the pavement. You got to, ride it kind of casual like you would, demoing most bikes in the shop. I mean, they bring these there so that you can go out and you can ride them hard.
Yeah, you can use them. You're not going to go around the block.
Absolutely.
You're going to go out and hit the actual gravel.
Yeah, and so, I was able to go and take them on some pretty, decent roads and really kind of see what they could do. And I absolutely, I mean, I had a blast getting to do it. I honestly wish that I would have had a couple more days to be able to jump out and demo those bikes. But at least, like you say, still take advantage of it. Your shops bring these folks in, and these companies come in, regardless of what brand it is, so that you can ride their bikes. There's absolutely zero pressure.
Yeah.
It wasn't like one of these things like, afterwards, like, so you're going to buy it? You're going to buy it? You're going to buy it? No, I'm not going to. I don't have that kind of money right now to
And you
buy
knew
it.
that going in to demo it, too.
Yes, yeah. And so it is a fantastic thing. If you got a bike shop locally that is bringing in a demo day, go out, support them, ride those bikes. I know both the shops appreciate that, and also the companies that are bringing the bikes and appreciate
Your
that.
local bike shop's going to be a continuing theme, I think, in today's episode a little bit. But before we jump into that, you mentioned one thing, kind of hitting those 100-mile weeks lately since your land run. Is that a goal you've set, or just kind of a number you've put out there?
Well, to be honest with you, I just want to ride my bike more after the way that this year started off. It was just, January wasn't terrible. I got decent miles in January, but February was just miserable, and I did not get out on my bike very much, and I did not ride very much. And so
that's because it's like 3 days shorter.
Well, that's 3 days shorter, but I was also about like 300 miles shorter than normal too. And so I just said, you know what, I've got to get out there. I got to get ready. Dirty Kansas coming. Can I even ride those kind of distances right now? So part of it's been that. Part of it's just been too, I also have 3 kids with our high school cycling club that are doing the Dirty Kansas 100. And so it's, getting them ready and getting them to that point where, hey, can your legs handle these kind of miles? So let's go out and let's ride and ride and ride. And so some of these kids, this last week, like I say, I had 100 miles, plus out on the bike. Well, some of them were there with me every single one of those miles, getting those miles themselves as well. And at the end of the week, they felt it, as did I. But they needed to feel that, I really believe, because if they're going to go out this year and ride, a 100-mile race, 100-mile event, whether it's Dirty Kansas or something else, you got to be prepped. You got to be putting those miles in, and if you're not, it's going to be a struggle.
Absolutely. I mean, you put in the work now so you can have fun later.
Absolutely. So I think they're going to be ready. They're all getting kind of to that point that they're getting a whole lot more comfortable out there. We are still definitely working on the nutritional aspect. Trying to. And the reality is, we all are still working on the nutritional aspect at times.
I think the nutrition, no matter how many miles you put in, week out, there's always something new you can learn on the nutrition side, or something new you can try. It might not always be the newest, most fancy formula out there. I mean, it's just finding the right snacks you like on the bike.
Yeah, I mean, when I started, literally from my first Dirty Kansas, I did Gatorade and peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. I mean, that was my.
Do you know what my first real go-to thing I carried on the bike was? I found like 4-pack individually wrapped Fig Newtons. I mean, just a lot of calories in a small amount, and from a lot of training rides 4 or 5 years ago, that's all I ate was Fig Newtons.
If it works, I guess.
It works, and the price was right on a package of Fig Newtons. So,
and after spending all the money to get into cycling, and buy the bike and everything else, what's cheap? So, definitely did some of that.
Yeah, it sounds like a lot of fun. I know Saturday night we snuck out and got a ride in with the high schoolers.
Yep, and I believe somebody bought us ice cream out there too, so that was awesome.
We did buy ice cream.
It was awesome getting to get out there to have some ice cream with those kids. Sweet picture, good times for sure. Speaking of riding with kids, and also as we've been talking about local bike shops, we got a chance to go up to Eudora, Kansas.
Yep, Frontier Bikes.
Yeah, Frontier Bikes, and speak with Beth Morford up there about some of the work that she's done with the shop, as well as USA Cycling and the high school group up there in Eudora, Kansas.
Yep, and really just kind of building a new community of cyclists there. So let's take a look.
I decided to open a bike shop because I went to frame building school after I sort of job shadowed Julie Pedalino in Lenexa and thought I wanted to be a frame builder, which I still want to be a frame builder, and I went to school for that, or I went to training for that. But when it came to a business plan and my skill sets, it made more sense to be in a shop setting than to be tucked away in a garage setting. I'm more of a people person, and I had mechanic training at Vela Plus for a couple of years, so it made sense to just be up with the people and getting people on bikes, because that's sort of what excited me more than building at the time. So, well, I built a gravel bike with Julie Pedalino for the Philly Bike Expo, and I grew up sort of a Trekkie nerd. My dad was a Star Trek nerd, and the bike is sort of dedicated to Star Trek. It has a SS Enterprise silver brazed onto it. And so I thought, oh, well, we live in Kansas, the frontier. So it's sort of a Midwest frontier vibe to it, and it I thought, well, why don't just call it Frontier Bikes, since we're sort of on the gravel frontier of the country. So. The biggest challenge for us is that we do not have foot traffic in our location. So we have tried really hard to make it a destination location instead, modeling a lot off of, small shops off the beaten path in the country. Like I talk a lot to Andrew Cohen, World of Bikes, and other shops that are destination shops that wouldn't necessarily see a lot of retail foot traffic. Like Sunflower is really lucky because they're downtown Lawrence, so they automatically get people in the door. Doesn't always translate to sales, but it's still exposure. So we're 8 miles from them, and we were like, well, I suppose we have a little bit more of a challenge bringing people here, but doing a little bit of research and looking at Strava maps, people ride by here all the time. And we wanted to be in Eudora, one, for price point and rent and overhead. Two, we're not a far bike ride from Lawrence. I mean, we're right off the gravel, and roadies go by here all the time. So if you want to get out of the hubbub of Lawrence on your bike, we're on the path between here and Olathe, here in DeSoto, Lawrence to DeSoto. People from Baldwin ride up, people from Gardner ride up. And so watching those maps and those routes and the traffic, we were like, oh, this spot came available and it's right on people's route. So why not? Let's try it. And it works, so. Yeah, I think the first challenge is people had never really heard of me in the industry because I haven't been in it very long, maybe 3.5, 4 years total. And so the people come in and they just don't know what your expertise is, your skill sets, what kind of knowledge do you have, can you even work on a bike? I mean, that's generally speaking. Then you get the older guys that come in, 60 plus, 55 plus year old demographic. They come in and they're like, automatically like, is the boss here? Is the mechanic here? And you're like, yeah. Hey, me, oh, me too. That's a challenge. Or they come, we had our grand opening and we had just guys coming in like, you should do this and you should do that. That's a general thing that happens, and it's okay. I know how to kind of brush it off. I've always worked in a male-dominated career industry, sports medicine before this, and I was always the token female on trips with Team USA. So I know how to handle myself in certain situations when you're sort of talked down to. But what we try and we brush those people aside, and we get people that come in the shop who WTF population. We get men who identify as women, women who identify as men, people who don't identify anyway to any gender, and they can come in and they go, well, we were turned away from this shop, so we thought we'd try your shop. And it's really a simple concept, just to love people where they're at on their bike, right, or whatever their experience is. And that's sort of the message we want to start campaigning for, is we want all shops to be safe shops. It's one of the things we're going to try and push for in 2019 is a safe shop window decal. Any shop can put it in their window, and so when people drive by, it's sort of a latchkey kid concept. When we were kids, you could walk in a neighborhood, and if you felt unsafe at any time, you could go knock on a door that had a sign on it that said, I'm safe in this place, right? And I can come in, this person was talking to me on the street and I'm not comfortable. That's what we want to do this year, is get some decals out to shops that want to be a part of that, so that you know that when you walk in right away, you can talk about not anything. Like, I don't know what, this is my grandfather's bike. I don't know how to work on it. Would you teach me? And I'm not going to talk down to you, and I'm not going to judge you based off what bike you ride or how long you've been riding it. So you can ask any question you want and feel like it's an approachable place to be in. So I, for almost 15 years, worked in Division I sports with universities, starting with University of Virginia Tech, then University of Kansas, Texas, Virginia. Team USA came in about 2010. and I traveled on the road with USA Swimming, and then went to Rio in 2016 doing sports massage. And I saw a lot of different body types, including cyclists. I got to work on people like Kristen Armstrong. I got to work on Mara Abbott after her 4th place finish at Rio on the road, which was heartbreaking to watch. And at that time, I was already wrenching at Vela Plus. I was already shadowing Julie and doing things like that. And they encouraged me. They were huge proponents of me getting into opening a shop or opening some sort of business in the cycling industry. And they're like, you don't see women mechanics. When we're on the road, all of our mechanics are guys. And it'd be great to have a female mechanic on the, soigneur, more female soigneurs would be great. And so that, seeing cyclist bodies, that skill set, knowing what being aero on a bike means physically, the demands it has on the body, what it means for a bike fit based off what genre riding you're doing, how you should feel on the bike, helps us tremendously in the shop here when it comes to fitting people on a bike, what size bike they should ride based off of what style of riding they're doing. So we value that. And then the frame building component comes in. I'm a small rider, and that's why I went to frame building school. After talking to Julie, she's like, really, if you want a bike that fits you, you have to build it. And so I was like, interesting. So I was riding a 46 centimeter Nature Boy, and I was stretched out on it big time. So I felt things in my body that shouldn't have been there, but I wanted to ride an all city, and I wanted to ride a single speed, but they weren't making 43 centimeter single speeds for all city at the time. And so why not just build my own bike? So I went to Yamaguchi 2017 and loved it. Then went to the PBE and Philly Bike Expo, which met all kinds of people who were the same mindset. You should fit your bike. You should be comfortable on your bike. Have one made for yourself, and that's really the way to go if you want something that's going to last forever and be comfortable for you. So. The idea of providing rides for all types of people, having rides for specific groups of people, having clinics for specific groups of people. I mean, you don't want to discriminate against a certain population. Most of our open shop nights are co-ed. We've had women's only open shop nights. Open shop night originated at Vela Plus. They stopped doing it. I picked it back up here when I opened. It was what got me into wrenching. An environment where people can come in and use your tools and be taught, have an expert teach you how to do it free of charge, and you feeling comfortable doing it and asking stupid questions, even though no question is stupid. So we want to continue, the goals for Frontier Bikes is continue opening up the shop to people to come in, feel comfortable. Any time of day, they can come in if we're busy and take a stand and just tinker and tool on things. We want to have more WTF rides for women, men, whatever walk of life you're from, they, he, she, them, we don't know. Come and ride your bike. We're really trying hard to bounce ideas off of Kate Moore of Surly and how we can get more of the Surly culture down here. Mountain biking. Mostly we participate a lot in Kansas City women's mountain bike rides. We want to get more women out there on steel mountain bikes, just kind of emanate that culture that they were really pushing up there with Surly. And as far as the high school goes, we started the high school cycling club last August. So we're the main shop sponsor. You can tell we have a sidewalk that goes directly to the high school right there. And we started the club right as the fall club started last fall, and we had 60 kids sign up. Nice. And then we had, at our first kind of group meeting ride, we had 30 kids show up, and we had a parking lot full of kids washing their bikes, learning about the anatomy of their bikes, went on a group ride. We have shirts now. They've got a new cycling club shirt they're really stoked about. We have a teacher sponsor who is awesome at bringing in posters and marketing and organizing them. They've elected their board. They've got a president, vice president. They have 2 female presidents for the high school cycling club, which is so cool. They've got treasurer, secretary, social media person. So I'm here as just sort of a liaison, someone to connect them into industry guest speakers to come in, talk about product, talk about job opportunities in the industry. If they ever wanted to get into the cycling industry or bike industry after high school, what could they do? How could they do it? And then just get them out on their bike to ride. So we're heavy into that scene. And we have a BMX group of kids that comes in, and they roll in on their bikes and they throw their bikes in the stand, and they want to learn how to take them apart and put them together. So we've got a huge youth population that we're engaging with here in town. Really excited about.
Awesome. Matt, what are you doing, man? Don't you realize we're filming a show right now? Come on, turn around.
What? I'm just putting these awesome stickers Beth sent us.
Awesome.
Frontier Bikes on the laptop. Got to represent them.
Absolutely. Cool story, bro.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, that's what the sticker says, by the way. They're sweet little stickers that she had made up of herself. Cool things to get to kind of just slap out there and show people, again, what she's been doing. She's been doing a great job up there this year.
Anything you can do to help a local bike shop get a little more recognition, I'm all about. So absolutely great thing she's doing with the community. I think I just saw on social media this past week from her. They used to be doing, I think, a ride, was it Saturday or Sunday mornings, one morning, but now they're actually splitting it up where one week they're doing gravel rides, rotating with the next weekend doing the Lawrence River Trail. So really trying to fit in wherever they can in all the different disciplines of cycling in the region up there.
Yeah, which is awesome. Again, it's a really great shop, really inclusive kind of shop.
Absolutely.
Definitely a lot of love that we felt when we were up there getting to talk with Beth about what's going on in the shop. As you mentioned, she's always pouring things out there on social media, so make sure that you are following Frontier Bikes on social media because they got some good stuff going on.
We'll put some links in the description for her shop, all the shop pages as well.
Absolutely. Speaking of social media,
we have more photos this week.
Yeah.
I'm going to lead with a disclaimer on this social media and go, we are filming this show on Monday morning, the Monday after Easter. So a lot of these photos came from last week, so they might be a little bit old. It might be people getting ready for some events. But let's dive in with the first photo. We got Sean Pearson out riding the Prairie Sunset Trail. Looks like an awesome rail to trail right there. The New Mexico Gravel Series sent in this photo. They had 30 people come out for their first ride out there this year. John sent in this photo of a crew of them out riding near Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania on Saturday. Alan Wheeler sent in this photo saying they had a hoot at the Barry-Roubaix. Julie sent in this photo that she finally got outside and got some riding in around Emporia, Kansas. Jen Reed was up at the Pebbles and Pint 60 in East Central Iowa. Jacob got in some gravel around the Boulder/Lyons area of Colorado. Says he's going to see us at the Epic next week. Grant got some local riding in the cold area of Northwest Michigan. Deborah was out at the Sequoia Gravel Adventures inaugural event, 100 miles in East Central Oklahoma. Levi was out exploring a bikepacking route recon in Northeast Iowa. Mike was up exploring the Michigan Sand in the Barry-Roubaix 100-mile event this past Saturday. Joe was up at the Washington Jefferson Ride, 60-mile ride starting in Washington County, Kansas, and heading up into Jefferson County, Nebraska, and then back again. A lot of really cool dirt, sand, and gravel roads. And finally, we wrap up with Steve Hamilton out exploring the gravel roads of Iowa. Hey, thank you again to everybody that submitted photos using the hashtag #ThisIsGravel on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Absolutely my favorite part of the week is sitting there just watching them come in, usually on Monday mornings, Tuesday mornings. First thing I do when I wake up in the mornings, check to see where people have posted. And it's fun seeing just all the events that have been out there.
There's so much going on, it seems like. Again, we talk about where gravel has come with even the past 3 or 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
And there are always events going on. There's always something to do. Here in Kansas, just over the month of May, we're going to have 2 local races or semi-local races with Macy's. And then you got Elrod Cirque down in Winfield area. So, those are both within an hour and a half of us. And I know this weekend, if I'm not mistaken, you're going to be heading somewhere too, right?
Yeah, this weekend we are headed, me and the Gravel Guru crew are headed to the Epic 150 over Osage Beach, Lake of the Ozarks over in Missouri. We went there last year, had a fun time, really just exploring. It's so cool seeing the common bond between all of us we love bikes, but then seeing the scenery change and the boundaries and just there's a lot of up down over there.
Yeah, every time I hear about just how hilly it is over there, that's when I'm like, as soon as I get myself this bike with gears, I'll head that direction. Because boy, I couldn't imagine doing that on single speed. I think last year there was only a couple folks on single speed that even finished the 150. It's a monster of a race. The elevations always, from what I hear, around 15,000 feet of climb. Yeah. So I mean, it's a beast of a race. I know they got some big names coming in this year to be a part of that race.
Yeah, to be honest, I haven't really looked over the names that closely yet on that, but I think they've got over 300 people coming in. And new this year, they have a juniors category. I think it's a 50-mile route they're opening up there, so it's really cool, speaking kind of on the high school perspective, seeing these races open up, trying to get more youth involved in them.
Yeah, it's really cool to see the more youth, movement that is going on out there, not just locally. I get folks on a regular basis each week kind of, sending me a message, hey, what did you guys do to get this started here in Kansas, and what can I do locally to get it started? My first advice is always start contacting your school, and then keep contacting the school, keep contacting, but then find some people around you that are going to support you doing this, because if I didn't have you helping support me with this, if I didn't have someone like Tina Khan locally help supporting me with this, I don't think I would, be able to keep going at times, because it can be definitely very tiresome on one person. But when you get a team that's there, that's helping you, that'll come out, that'll do some rides, it definitely helps. And so it's great to see the Epic have a juniors category. It's great to see, DK have their high school race. It's great to see, again, some of these other races, at least making an effort to have an under 18 category.
Yes.
For these younger kids that are wanting to get out there and take on these events.
And before we wrap up real quick today, I want to give 2 shout-outs. One shout-out to the crew down at the Wichita area with the Rage Against the Chainring. They wrapped up a season this weekend. They had awesome weather. It looked like Saturday morning out there. I think they were down in Peck, Kansas for that. So congratulations on wrapping up this season down there, guys. And the inaugural running of the Iowa Wind and Rock was this weekend.
That looked pretty rough.
I didn't do too much studying on it, but congrats to Sarah and Steve and the whole crew that put that on. 340 miles.
Yeah, 340 miles. I mean, and from everything I saw, I mean, it was just rough.
Q-sheet only navigation. Started at 4 a.m. I think the winner came in right under 30 hours, maybe?
Yeah, somewhere right in that range. And, I mean, I think they said only 6 people, if I'm not mistaken, finished the race. The elevation climbs obviously are huge up there in Iowa. If you haven't ridden up there before, I mean, it is just it's kind of like Missouri, a lot of up and down, but then a lot of really rough, thick gravel roads, freshly laid gravel roads. And so from everything that I saw online, it was just beating folks up. And so to those that even took up the line, kudos to you. But to the 6 that finished,
absolutely
beasts, man. Absolutely.
So thanks again for watching. Make sure you follow the Minister of Gravel on Facebook and Instagram, and keep following Gravel Guru. Thanks.